Have you ever noticed how some people seem to glide through life like they're walking on a cloud, while everyone else is trudging through quicksand? They wake up refreshed, handle stress like it's a minor inconvenience, and somehow attract good things without breaking a sweat. Meanwhile, the rest of us are out here hustling, grinding, and burning ourselves out trying to force everything into place. What's wild is that these people aren't necessarily smarter, luckier, or more talented. They've just figured out something that most of us completely miss. They've discovered that the harder you chase something, the faster it runs away from you. And the moment you stop chasing, it casually strolls back, like it never left. Think about it. When was the last time you desperately wanted something? Maybe it was a job, a relationship, or even just someone's approval. You probably rehearsed every conversation, analyzed every interaction, and stressed over every tiny detail. And how did that work out? Probably felt forced, awkward, and exhausting. But then there's those other times when you barely tried. You showed up relaxed, didn't overthink anything, and somehow everything just flowed. People connected with you, opportunities appeared, and life felt easy. That's the paradox most people never understand. Trying too hard actually kills the magic. See, your mind operates in two completely different modes. There's focus mode, where you're gripping the steering wheel like you're about to crash, micromanaging every outcome, and stressing over things you can't control. Then there's flow mode, where you stop caring just enough to let your instincts take over. Athletes call it being in the zone. Artists call it losing themselves in the work. You've felt it too, those moments where time disappears and everything just clicks. But here's the catch. You can't enter that state when you're obsessed with the outcome. When you care too much, you actually get in your own way. It's like trying to remember something that's on the tip of your tongue. The harder you push, the further it slips away. But the moment you let go and move on, boom, it pops into your mind effortlessly. This applies to literally everything in life. Money becomes harder to attract when you're desperate for it, but when you stop making every decision from fear and scarcity, opportunities start appearing. Love runs away when you chase it, but when you stop making your happiness dependent on someone else, people naturally become drawn to you. Even happiness works this way. Ever tried to force yourself to be happy? It never works. But when you stop making happiness a goal and just allow yourself to be present, it sneaks up on you. The truth is, most of the stress and chaos in your life doesn't come from the things themselves. It comes from how much you care about them. Picture this. You're walking into a crowded room, maybe it's a party or a networking event. Suddenly, you feel like every single person is analyzing your existence, your posture, your outfit, the way you're stirring your drink. You've somehow become the main character in a psychological thriller. But then something shifts. You stop caring, not in a nihilistic way, but in a liberating, peaceful way. You're just there, existing. And what happens? The tension melts. Conversations feel easier. People gravitate toward you. You stop filtering yourself into someone else's expectations, and suddenly everything that felt heavy becomes effortless. It's almost like the world has been waiting for you to get out of your own way, and that's exactly what's been happening. The universe, life, or whatever you want to call it, is constantly reflecting back the energy you put out. Desperation repels, ease attracts. When you stop micromanaging every outcome, when you stop overanalyzing every interaction, when you stop squeezing the steering wheel of life like you're about to crash, that's when things start to align. The irony? Most of the things you thought you needed to stress about were never that serious to begin with. You've been running a marathon when life was offering you a leisurely stroll. You've been fighting upstream when the current was ready to carry you exactly where you needed to go. But why does this happen? Why does life seem to work better when you care just a little bit less? It comes down to attachment. The more you cling, the more things slip through your fingers. It's like holding sand. Gripping it tightly makes it fall faster, but opening your hand allows it to rest gently in your palm. Ever notice how musicians talk about writing their biggest hits in 10 minutes? How artists say their best work came when they weren't even trying? That's because creativity and life thrive in a state of ease, not effort. When you're in flow, you're not fighting against the natural rhythm of existence. You're dancing with it. Most people spend their entire lives gripping onto things like they're afraid they'll disappear the second they loosen their grasp. Their relationships, their careers, their reputations. They hold onto them so tightly, thinking control equals security. But what if that grip is exactly what's suffocating the things they want most? Take relationships, for example. Ever been around someone who was way too eager? They text nonstop, need constant reassurance, and try too hard to prove their worth. What happens? You feel smothered. The energy feels desperate. It's not attractive. It's exhausting. Now think of someone who wasn't in a rush, who wasn't overinvested in seeking approval, who moved through life with quiet confidence. They didn't need you to like them. They just existed as they were, and that was enough. That energy is magnetic. This isn't just about people, it's about success too. How many stories have you heard of people who worked themselves into burnout, chasing money or status, only to realize it never made them happy? Then the moment they stopped chasing, when they focused on things they actually enjoyed, success came knocking at their door. Investors who lose thousands because they panic and sell at the worst possible time, while those who trust the process end up winning. Entrepreneurs who go all in on a forced idea, only to fail, but then stumble into something effortless that becomes their biggest success. Artists who create their best work when they stop worrying about what people think and just express themselves. The common thread? The more you chase, the harder it runs. The more you let go, the more things find you. And look, I get it. Letting go feels scary. We've been conditioned to believe that if we're not actively controlling everything, we're failing. That if we stop worrying, things will fall apart. That if we don't try, we won't get anywhere. But that's the illusion. Letting go doesn't mean doing nothing. It means trusting that what's meant for you will come, not through force, but through alignment. It means taking action from a place of calm confidence rather than from fear. It means allowing life to unfold rather than fighting it every step of the way. When you stop being overly attached to an outcome, you don't lose control, you gain it. Because instead of making fear-based decisions, you make real decisions. Instead of reacting to life, you start choosing how you engage with it, and that changes everything. There's something beautiful about this shift. When you stop caring so much, people start caring more about you. The energy flip is undeniable. The moment you stop over-explaining, over-apologizing, and over-efforting, people start leaning in. It's like an invisible force flips. The things you used to chase start moving toward you. The opportunities that once felt out of reach show up when you're least expecting them. Why? Because desperation repels, but confidence attracts. There's a reason the person who's relaxed, laughing, and unbothered is always the one who gets noticed in a room. There's a reason the person who isn't constantly seeking validation gets respect without even trying. When you stop needing everything to work out a certain way, you give off this effortless, magnetic energy. You're not forcing, you're not chasing, you're just being. And that's powerful. Here's what's really happening when you make this shift. You stop treating everything like life or death. Most of the things that stress you out today, you won't even remember a year from now. The deadline, the awkward conversation, the thing you said that kept replaying in your head, it won't matter. When you zoom out, you realize most things don't carry the weight you think they do. You start trusting that the right things will find you. This doesn't mean you sit around doing nothing. It means you do your part. You show up, you take action, but you don't grip the outcome so tightly that you suffocate it. Wanting something is fine. Needing it to work out in a specific way is where suffering begins. You begin to see uncertainty not as something to fear, but as a blank canvas. The future isn't written, it's shaped by your present energy. And when you stop micromanaging every detail, you allow space for better things to unfold, things you wouldn't have even considered before. But here's the thing nobody talks about. Letting go isn't a passive act where you just sit back and hope things work out. It's actually an active choice, a deliberate shift from forcing outcomes to trusting the process. And once you make that shift, you'll notice something strange happening around you. The people who used to stress you out suddenly lose their power over your peace. The situations that once felt overwhelming start feeling manageable. The opportunities you were desperately chasing begin presenting themselves naturally. It's like you've switched from swimming against the current to floating downstream, and suddenly everything that felt impossible becomes effortless. Think about the last time you were in a conversation where you weren't trying to impress anyone, where you weren't overthinking every word, where you were just genuinely present. How did that feel? Natural, right? That's the energy I'm talking about. When you stop performing for approval, when you stop forcing connections, when you stop trying to control how others perceive you, something magical happens. You become magnetic without even trying. This applies to everything in your life. The job interviews where you showed up relaxed and authentic probably went better than the ones where you rehearsed every answer. The relationships that developed naturally probably feel more genuine than the ones you forced. The creative projects that flowed out of you effortlessly probably turned out better than the ones you struggled with. But here's where most people get stuck. They think letting go means giving up, becoming lazy, or not caring about anything. That's not what this is about. This is about releasing attachment to specific outcomes while still taking aligned action. It's about doing your best work and then trusting that the right results will follow. When you operate from this place, you make decisions from clarity instead of desperation. You take action from confidence instead of fear. You engage with life from a place of abundance instead of scarcity. And that shift in energy changes everything. The universe, life, whatever you want to call it, responds to your energy. When you're gripping tightly to outcomes, you're sending out desperate energy. When you're trusting the process, you're sending out confident energy. And confident energy attracts opportunities, relationships, and experiences that desperate energy repels. So how do you actually make this shift? Start by catching yourself when you're over-efforting. Notice when you're trying too hard to make something happen. Ask yourself, am I taking action from fear or from trust? Am I moving towards something I want or running away from something I don't want? When you catch yourself forcing, pause. Take a breath. Ask what the most natural next step would be. Trust that you don't need to control every variable to get where you're going. Trust that by doing your part with intention and then releasing attachment to the outcome, you're actually creating space for better things to unfold. The irony is that when you stop trying so hard, you don't achieve less, you achieve more. But more importantly, you enjoy the journey instead of just enduring it until you reach some imaginary finish line. Peace isn't something you find by eliminating all challenges from your life. Peace is what emerges when you stop fighting reality and start dancing with it. When you stop gripping so tightly to how things should be and start appreciating how things actually are. That's when you realize that peace was never hiding from you. You were just too busy chasing it to notice it was already there, waiting for you to stop running and simply be present.